Hey guys, I want to talk to you today about a little movie called The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. Normally, if I do a movie review, it's something I just saw in theaters, or it's a WTF cinema. I don't usually just grab something off the shelf and talk about it, but this one's a little bit different. A new collector's edition of the movie just came out on Blu-ray for the first time, and so I snapped it up, and I watched that yesterday. It also came with a documentary that's longer than the movie. I am not done watching the documentary yet. It's a lot. I'm gonna finish it. It's great because they got all of the big name stars from this movie to come and be a part of this documentary, which is amazing, really. I mean, it's Christopher Lloyd, Peter Weller, John Lithgow, all sat down and talked about how much fun they had making this movie. And that's the first part of my recommendation. And we're going to try and keep this as spoiler-free as possible, because you should see Buckaroo Banzai. That's the long and the short of this review. But the first recommendation I'm going to make, if you ever want to see an actor having the most fun of his entire career, it is John Lithgow in this movie. Over the top. He plays a character that he has described as a combination of Bozo the Clown and Mussolini. I just want you to think about that. Bozo the Clown meets Mussolini. That's the character in a ridiculous Italian accent. He is eating this movie up. And every time he's done an interview afterwards, you would almost expect an actor of Lithgow's fame to be a little bit ashamed of this little silly project he worked on, this little B movie at the beginning of his career, where he played this crazy over the top. You'd expect him to play it down a bit. But he has been known to try to convince fans who come up to him, I loved you in Third Rock. I loved you in Footloose. I loved you in whatever. He has been known to try to talk them into going and watching him in Buckaroo Banzai. This man is not only thrilled about the fun he had in this movie, he's actually proud of it. And it makes it a hoot to watch. It really does. So, Buckaroo Banzai, spoiler-free synopsis, Buckaroo Banzai is the coolest person on the planet. He is a neurosurgeon. He is a rock and roller with his own band. He is a top scientist and a martial arts expert, and probably a dozen other things too. He is the coolest guy in the world, played by Peter Weller. He has comic books based off of him. Sometimes he's a little too busy when the president calls and wants to talk to him. Cool guy. While performing an experiment, he stumbles into an intergalactic issue. That's as spoiler-free as I can make it, really. I love Buckaroo Banzai. Here's the thing. It's a funny movie. I mean, it's action, thriller, and funny, but I can't really point to a single joke. I got two hands. Joke in the entire movie. A lot of the humor is very subtle. Some of it's in the signs, in the background dialogue. A lot of it's just in the way some of the lines are delivered. And a lot of people that I know like to point out various quotes and everything, but as you're watching it, there's really no jokes. But it's still a very funny movie. I like it a lot. Peter Weller does a pretty amazing job as the titular Buckaroo Banzai. The one downside I would say about this movie, and I kind of dig this vibe, actually. Yeah, I said dig. What are you going to do about it? Often in the movie, you'll kind of get the sense that you're watching an inside joke that you're not a part of. And normally that's a bad thing. Normally that's not how you want your audience to feel. But It feels like it's an inside joke that you're not a part of that they're about to let you in on. It really feels like at any moment the movie's just going to turn to you and be like, you're part of the club now. So here's how this joke works. It's a very inclusive feeling. I think the most obvious example of this is as two characters are just running through, Jeff Goldblum and another guy are just running through this lab. At one point, Jeff Goldblum says, "Why is there a watermelon over there?" And the other guy says, "I'll tell you later." He never does. But just in the middle of this lab, there's a watermelon. Now, I posted this on Facebook, me liking this movie, and it turns out there's a website full of scraps and fragments of the Buckaroo Banzai legacy, and they go into great detail about where that watermelon is from, or what it's doing there. And, of course, the story is, you know what? It's not a spoiler because it's not a part of the movie. But apparently, one of many things the Banzai Institute was working on was getting food to the hungry without having to worry about going through channels and all this red tape. We just want to give them food. And so they developed a type of watermelon that could withstand an impact at 30,000 miles per hour so that they could just fly over countries and just throw watermelons out of an airplane and feed people. Special watermelons with nutrients and vitamins and everything extra injected in there. Just one more way the Banzai Institute is making the world a better place. Yeah. It's fascinating. And some of the inside joke thing comes from the fact that when the writer was originally creating this, he actually wrote 4 or 5 movies. He got about 20 pages in, and then he'd go, I don't like this story. And he'd start a whole new story about Buckaroo Banzai. So there were 4 or 5 20-minute movies about Buckaroo Banzai. And I really get the feeling that even though those movies were never made or even finished being written, the things in them are treated as canon. Because there's a reference to a character who's not in the movie. I mean, there's... And I think that adds to the inside joke element. But here's the thing. You're not missing out on the jokes. Because this movie was all that existed when it came out. If you like weird, quirky. Quirky's better than weird. Wild Zero is weird. This movie's quirky. It's got a lot of charm. It's an early 80s sci-fi thriller with a lot of quirk and charm. The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the 8th Dimension is for you. Additionally, it's extra worth checking out right now because Kevin Smith has announced that he is making a Buckaroo Banzai TV series. With last I heard, he's almost done finalizing the deal with Amazon Studios. The first season will be a retelling of this first movie. And then the second season will be what we were promised at the end of this first movie. Buckaroo Banzai versus the World League of Crime. Or the League of Organized Crime. I'm a bad Buckaroo Banzai fan. Something like that. It was teased at the end of the first movie, and of course it never came out. There are various Buckaroo Banzai books and comic books, and again there's a website just full of information. It's really a hoot. You should check it out if you're into hoots. So that's all I've got. Thanks for stopping by. Go on, you Blue Blazer regulars. Go check out Buckaroo Banzai and his Hong Kong cavalry. I'll see you guys later.
Hi, I'm Luke Bryan, 2-time CMA Entertainer of the Year. If I ever learn how to read, I'm going to read The Great Platypus Caper by Jeff Hillary because I believe in supporting fine literature. I'm Luke Bryan. Hi.